My name is Sanaz and I started working with Brandon in 2017.
Would you mind telling us more about your experience working with Brandon, please?
It's been a great 7 years we've been working together. Initially, I didn't think I needed a financial advisor because I felt like I could do research. But as I got more involved with what I do, I didn't really have time to actually do the research. And even when I did the research, there was so many contradictory pieces of information. So I didn't really know how to navigate all the different pieces of information I was getting. So working with Brandon was really great in terms of helping me figure out a plan that was actionable and that was easy to follow for me.
Why you like working with Brandon?
A couple of reasons. One is he's very knowledgeable about all the different tax shelters that are out there, all the different opportunities. The other one is he's very organized. So I really like when we have a meeting, it always has an agenda. We always have a summary and we always have action items. So it's never like you have a meeting, you talk about stuff and then you forget it. But with Brandon, it's very action oriented. So you always have a plan. And you know the result of the meeting, like what you want to get out of it. Like an example I can give you is when I was trying to purchase a property, there are so many mortgage options out there. I was trying to figure out what is the best option for me and what works for me. So Brandon came up with a plan of what are some of my financial needs right now, what are some of my goals for the long term. So we came up with a solution that was fitting all of those into consideration, as opposed to just thinking, oh, this is the lowest rate mortgage versus this is the highest rate, and just falling into the trap of like, oh, I just want to pay less. But thinking more of a long term and like what fits into my like long-term financial goals.
What's going on with your life right now, and why do you think that working with Brandon is helpful?
We are a young family. We have a young daughter. So there has been a lot of changes in the way we view financial planning. So we've started talking about, for instance, setting up a will, estate planning, some of the tax shelters that are out there. That is, again, planning for the future for our daughter. So I would say that is like one of the things that has changed. And again, when looking at like real estate, how is that beneficial long-term versus short-term? So there's been some changes in our family. So it's been great working with Brandon.
So how has your life changed after working with Brandon?
I've started looking at it long-term versus short-term. I always had this idea that I can just play the stock market. I can buy and sell stocks and maybe I'll get lucky. But after working with Brandon, I really realized it's a long-term view of things, and it takes time to figure out like what works best for you. I think the other thing that has really opened my eyes is like some of the tax shelters that I initially didn't know about, or I had heard of, but I didn't know if they would apply to me. So I think that was another big eye-opener for me. And then the last one is like, as my life has changed from having a student loan versus like now trying to buy a property, that has also, Brandon has also helped adapt my goals and like adapt my financial planning based on those changes in my life.
Why should people work with Brandon?
A lot of reasons. One of them, like I think, as I mentioned, he's very organized and he's very goal oriented. So if you're the type of person who wants to focus on achieving a goal and then following it through, he will definitely give you like a step-by-step guide. The other reason, I think that he's, again, very like aware of what's happening in the market. And it's not just the stock market, it's also the real estate market. So the whole spectrum of your financial planning. He's always available. So whenever I've had questions where there's things have come up, for instance, for my employment contracts, like if I wanted to get his opinion, he was always available to kind of jump on a quick call and answer my questions when I was like stuck, like, oh, should I get a better, like, should I ask for a bigger stock option versus a bigger salary? Like those were like my questions. So he was always available to like take my questions and be like, yeah, this is like give me basically the pros and cons of each option. And even when like it comes time to like wanting to get a mortgage, for instance, is like talking to the bank and getting like the different rates and different options, he was available. And then he also offered like you can also, you know, talk to this other financial institution and they have other options. So it was not just like, well, you can figure it out yourself. You know?
Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I think like working with Brandon has been great and we've actually become really good friends. One of the things we have in common is we have this goal-oriented mindset of like we have a goal and we want to get there and we want to have like a plan to get there. So I think that's been really nice to all, not just have like someone who is your advisor, but also someone who's your friend that you can talk to about your life situations, care about you, as opposed to just like, oh, I'm just a numbers guy. I don't need to hear about your life story.
Yeah, I agree.